Sitting down to write your applications to business school is this extraordinary opportunity to step back and really think about things that matter to you, a sense of purpose, the direction that you want to take your career and the impact that you're then looking to have. And my next guest for the Centre Court Festival is a wonderful, wonderful example of this. I'm delighted to welcome Mahesh Sudhakaran, who is a general manager for global energy, environment, and utilities industry at IBM, looking at how AI, the cloud technology, is really going to make an impact in terms of environmental change. Mahesh, it's great to have you with us and talk perhaps a little bit about the MBA experience that you had at Cambridge Judge. Maybe we can start just with a little of your story and what led to business school and the career that you're now enjoying with IBM.
Oh, absolutely. Firstly, Matt, I want to thank you and the Cambridge MBA program for this opportunity. I'm Mahesh Sudhakaran. I'm the general manager for IBM's energy, environment, and utility business. So I lead the mission of helping energy companies around the world lead in the era of sustainability and energy transition. There are two mega trends that are extremely close to all of us in the world. One is clean electrification, and the second is renewable energy. You can see the world around us electrifying. You see electric vehicles, you see buildings, and soon industries are going to electrify. Now imagine a world where this electrification is fed by renewable energy. That is how the world becomes more sustainable. And that is a mission that I'm working very hard with the teams around the world to enable. Also, we need to ensure that this is done in a safe, reliable, affordable, and also an equitable manner. And this is a place where we have a lot of things to solve as a world. And hence, I see the space to be extremely interesting.
Now,
Matt, you asked me about my background.
In terms of that journey, because of course you'd studied engineering at the NIT in Karnataka, and then early stages of your career in Schneider Electric. So there was already that focus on energy.
Absolutely, Matt. So when I look at my own career, I look at my career as having two parts, right? I would call the first part was about working in the hardware side of energy, what I call the building blocks of infrastructure. And that was the first decade of my experience at Schneider Electric, about understanding the basics, how about circuit breakers, transformers, relays, power plants, how it all comes together. And during that time, I had an opportunity to dive deep into the how energy is created, how it's managed. I realized that I also want to be on the business side because I feel that I had an opportunity to create impact there. I also wanted to go back and formally learn some aspects of electricity because that's something that I had a tremendous interest in. And that is how I ended up going to Cambridge, because Cambridge afforded me an opportunity to do an MBA program. And Cambridge is one of the few, I think, MBA programs in the world which gives you an opportunity to specialize on the topic of energy and electricity, especially with the electricity policy research group there. And that is how I came to Cambridge. I had an excellent time at Cambridge, and I'm extremely thankful for a lot of my career for the business school. Also, post-Cambridge, I had an opportunity to move from what I call the hardware side of energy to the technology side of energy, or the software side of energy with IBM. And I've been working in this space for the past decade. I have an opportunity to help IBM Renewable Energy business, help create one of the few wind software businesses out of China, and then looking at how we can actually use exponential technologies such as AI, IoT, and blockchain to actually make the energy transition and sustainability goals of both of our clients and the world more real. And that's something that I'm absolutely fascinated by. We need a large canvas to solve this problem. And that's something I feel that a combination of my experience with Schneider and also with IBM has given me the building blocks. And with the Cambridge MBA, with the skills I've learned, especially in the domains of strategy and the tenets of business, especially finance, have really helped me.
Right. I mean, that sort of convergence of the technical side, whether it's electricity or specifics. I suppose Judge is in this, wonderful position as part of a broader university. You did a minor in energy during the MBA program to really then be able to combine those aspects of finance strategy with the sort of technical challenges that you're looking to solve.
Absolutely, and that's something that's unique, and not only it's just the aspects that I from what I call the technical skills of business, which are strategy and finance. It also exposed me to a very strong peer group. Cambridge has like when I went to school, we had over 150 nationalities, and also we had a lot of folks who had come from different parts of energy. So it was actually a melting pot for me to learn the different types of energy and the careers that are possible in energy. That's one. The second is I also could meet a lot of people who are looking at energy from a completely different way, especially in the energy finance domain. There are a lot of people who came from sustainable finance. There are a lot of people who came from strategy consulting. So these different perspectives help me build on what I had, right? And that is something that I always value what I learned from my peers, and also they are my network for life. And even today, when I have a challenge on some of the topics, there are people I can call to who are the best in the business to get advice, and that's something that's always been valuable for me.
Right. We look at the MBA, of course, those general management skills that you're developing, and embedded in that a focus on leadership. Are the things that you now do in a very successful career at IBM, as you've gone, from increasing levels of responsibilities and leadership, things that you do on a consistent basis that you really learned or developed while you were at Judge to enhance your own leadership abilities?
Absolutely, Matt. So I think as a leader in technology and also as a leader in energy, the most important thing for me to continuously do as a leader is to listen and learn. One thing I've realized, starting from my experience in at Cambridge, is that I'm not the smartest person in the room, right? And that's something you got to be comfortable with, right? But then, how do you take the different viewpoints and learnings you're getting, and you're able to like distill it down to insights that you can use to then take a decision? So listening and learning is a very important skill. And this becomes even more important when you're dealing with technology, because there's a time when technologies change every 15 years. And there's a time when technology change every 10 years. Now technology changes every 5 years. So you have to be a constant learner to be successful and also to be a leader. The second thing which I feel I try to do constantly is to take decisions, right? There has to be a bias for action. I think knowing what to do is just half the battle, right? Then actually going and doing it and persisting through the challenges that come from your decision and finally getting to your goal is something that you have to constantly aspire for, because it's not easy. And the third thing that I constantly aspire to do, Matt, is as a leader, you are the standard, right? Your teams look up to you on what good or bad looks like, right? So you have to always lead from the front and set the benchmark of what you expect from others, right? And so thereby people have something to aspire to, and this is very important in teams, especially large teams.
Perhaps your own classmates at Judge were part of sort of holding up that mirror to your leadership journey and path and development. To recognize things perhaps that you're already very good at, but also then confront and improve those areas to strengthen. Are there areas of leadership and decision making that you find particularly challenging and that you've consciously worked on?
Absolutely, Matt. And I think a lot of the discussion narrative about leadership is about success, right? We spend an extraordinary amount of time in leadership about how it's so successful and how do you get to success. I think we don't spend as much time at looking at failures. I think best leaders are the leaders who have failed graciously and have recovered from it. And the part of recovery is not easy once you've failed, right? So it's very important, and that's something that I constantly strive to learn, is about not giving up the appetite to fail, because it's only when you fail and when you recover from the setback and then move forward, that's when true leadership learning happens, right? And that's how you actually create value. It is not a fun experience, right? So that is something that you have to constantly balance to ensure that you're a successful executive in a company or in any dimension. So what I call it, failing forward is something that you have to constantly work on.
Right. And that perhaps if it's a celebration of failure, but certainly the idea of how you then move forward and learn from that. As the media often sort of lionizes certain industry leaders, with their success. Do you have a favorite leader, perhaps even at a more modest level in your community, as well as industry leaders? And something about the values of that person or actions and positions that he or she have taken that have really inspired you?
Absolutely, man. I'm like, this is like I said when we started our discussion, learning about leadership is something that I truly value, right? And I feel that IBM as a company has been around for 100 years, right? And we have gone through a lot of transformation. A lot of the leadership talent that comes in the technology industry comes from IBM. It is because of the scale of the business and the challenges that we have overcome. We are going through a transformation right now. So I've had an opportunity to observe a few IBM leaders very closely, and two of them are standout for me. One is today. So I've had the opportunity to be mentored by him for the past decade. I've absolutely enjoyed that opportunity because I've seen his bias for action, his authenticity when he comes into discussions, and his vision for establishing technology and about moving technology forward, especially through all the obstacles, right? And that's something that I've absolutely valued. And also, one thing that I've seen is consistency in his approach. He's been very consistent across different dimensions. That's where integrity comes from. The second leader is one person called Brad Gammons, who was the general manager for energy prior to me taking over the role. He's someone I've worked for the past 5 years. One of the things that really stood out about him, other than the usual leadership traits, is his sense of mission. He started inside of the IBM company about us being a sustainable enterprise, of us leading the world in sustainability. And there is that sense of mission that we are able to create a team around. And now I think that we have one of the best teams in the world on this particular topic. And the sense of mission that he drove is the reason we have it. So I think two different leaders operating on two different sides of the business, but extremely inspirational.
Right. And with that sense of vision, do you observe in them, you talked about the importance of listening and the implication also of empathy and understanding the position of others. What are the qualities that you've seen in them or perhaps observed more widely that you find are common to a successful leader?
Absolutely. I think a lot of the times when you talk about leadership, it is not about the individual. It is about the mission that they are trying to drive, right? And to drive any mission, it's about the teams that you're working in, right? So it always comes down to putting the mission before yourself. And what does that mean? It seems as a high level statement. It means developing empathy for your team. It's engagement with your team. It's also about developing empathy for some of the actions, and also finding ways to empower the team to be successful. So for me, engagement, empathy are extremely important activities in any form of leadership. The second thing that I feel that leaders need to bring out is authenticity and integrity, like I just spoke about. In this world of hyper communication, just like you and I are on Zoom today, and we're doing so many of these things, and the amount of time leaders have to communicate has gone up substantially, right? And leaders have to be available; they have to be seen, and they're always communicating when they're seen. So the only way to do that is with authenticity, because else people will spot a fake. The second thing that we have to absolutely be clear about is integrity. You have to walk your talk. We are in a world today where if you don't walk your talk, you're going to be spotted, right? It's going to be spotted inside the company and through the different stakeholders that you're engaging with. So integrity is extremely, extremely important. So amongst these are the two things which I feel we have to constantly work on.
Right. And that idea of constantly working, learning, developing, as you think back to the MBA program at Judge, and whether it's discussions in the classroom or sort of experiential learning, were there aspects of the program that you think, I'm still using that today? Or that's something that was really a focus at Judge, and it plays out in the situations that you're then faced with?
Matt, I'm immensely thankful for the Judge experience, because there are a few things that were absolutely stand out and eye-opening for me, right? And this is probably not a very traditional answer, but the few things that really mattered for me from a Judge perspective was embracing diversity, right? And embracing diversity of all kinds at scale. So before I came into Judge, I used to work for a French company. So yes, I had experienced diversity. I came from India. working for a French company, yes, I was exposed to diversity. But the diversity I judged was at a completely different scale. It's about 150 nationalities, different kinds of orientation, different kinds of belief systems. It's diversity of every kind. And trying to get work done, or trying to inspire, motivate, work together, that exposed me on how to work with diversity at scale. And that is something that I'm still using today, because the diversity is more important than ever. And this is a big part of the conversation everywhere. The second thing for me that what Judge did for me was, like I said, I mentioned this before, is being comfortable not being the smartest person in the room. When you come to Judge, it's everybody who has had an opportunity to come into Judge have been selected for something that makes them stand apart.
Mm.
So that means there are a lot of very good people in the room. So there's always going to be somebody who knows more about a topic or a set of topics than you. So this ability to listen and learn from others is something that it's actually a humble pie eating contest. So that is something that you learn, and that's something that's extremely adaptable in technology, right? Because in technology, you are going to be an expert for a while. After that, unless you're listening and learning, you will not keep up. So you have to take wise counsel and advice from experts in the room, and you have to be comfortable with that, right? And that is something that I think Judge exposed me to. And probably a third thing I think Judge did for me was reset my ambition level, right? On what you could achieve in your own personal lives and professional lives is something that my peer group in Judge completely reset for me. The things I wanted to do post MBA, probably 10, 20 years down, finishing my MBA, were things some of my friends had already done. So then you're like, okay, I probably can aspire for more. Aspiring for more is okay, right? And that is something that the Judge School did for me. The two other things that would really stand out for me, Matt, were two classes. One was a strategy class that Allegra runs. It's a master class. And the second one of all the classes was I think it was called Organization Behavior or Management Practice, one of the two, run by a professor called Keith Goodall, which talked about how we as humans interact in large groups, and especially about managing people. I think that is something that I use every single day.
That just this idea of unlocking your potential, and you know what you then feel that you achieve, because of course when we look at the world's top business schools like Cambridge, you know, we look at outcomes, perhaps job titles, obviously the salaries that go with that subsequent progression, but you know, just this idea of it gave me the confidence to then really be able to pursue some of those ideas, something that a ranking could never capture. I mean, how has that then played out in your career, and just the sense of what you felt that you could achieve?
Like I said, Matt, Cambridge reset my ambition level for me, right? And more importantly, trying to, what I say, to experiment in a safe space of a business school on what you can achieve gave me the confidence to pursue certain discussions which I've never done before, right? The fact that I could come out of school and potentially take up an initiative and lead an initiative, like something I did in China, where I moved to a country where I had not worked before, I don't speak a language, and taking up an opportunity to go run a business there is something I wouldn't have even dreamt about prior to business school. The reason I could do that is because of my Cambridge experience. I knew enough folks from China that I had a support network in China, which I would have never had. So the truly global network that you talk about is something that has really helped me in my career. And even today, if there's a topic that I don't understand, say something around, say, private equity financing, which is something that something that's outside the scope of what I do, I have absolute experts in the space that I can reach out to and learn from. And it could be things around something as technical as private equity, or it could be something like, to go to a new place and what do you eat, or something as simple as that, or something like, well, what do you do in a new city, right? Your friends actually come in and really help you out, and the sense of camaraderie that is there in the Cambridge group is something that's unparalleled, and that is a reflection of a small class that you've had.
So never stop learning, and never stop benefiting from the extraordinary network, a global network, whether to find a good place to eat or to set up a business operation in China that you would have never otherwise have thought of. For the next generation of applicants to the Judge MBA, as they sit there, they've worked their way through data sufficiency and critical reasoning on the GMAT, and now they're sort of reflecting on the application and the role that business school. What advice would you have to them in sharing their story and really thinking ahead to unlock the sort of potential that obviously you have enjoyed?
Absolutely, man. For me, if I have to like give a few takeaways, right? I would want to start off by saying leadership is not a destination, right? It's a journey. Everybody is learning about leadership, and this is a constant journey for your entire career, irrespective of what you're going to do, because you're going to be leading teams in any activity that you're going to engage in. So I would ask folks to be authentic and build integrity into their value system. It's extremely essential, especially in today's world of hypercommunication. So be comfortable being authentic, right? When you're communicating, be comfortable sharing your hopes and ambitions, and also at times frustration. That is a part of who you are. So, and I think reflecting back there's nothing wrong in that, right? So be authentic, but also show integrity, walk the talk, do the right thing. The second thing that I would also ask everybody to work on is be credible. Like leaders have to be credible on things they work on. And the only way you're going to be credible is when you have this learning mindset, right? Some people call it, don't be a know-it-all, be a learn-it-all, right? That is an extremely important aspect of leadership today, because the world is constantly changing around you. You have to keep up. You have to learn. The third thing is about make your team successful. It's not about you. It's about the team. Once you make the team successful, you become successful. It's not a thought that connects automatically because of the way we are driven as type A individuals, but it's the team that matters, right? So you have to find ways to empower the team, engage the team, develop empathy with the team. And lastly, leadership, like I said, when I started, leadership is a journey. You are going to fail, absolutely, right? So enjoy the process, have fun while you're doing this. And when you enjoy and have fun in the process, you would get up from your setbacks, and you will always work on moving forward and learning more and being successful. So I would want to say, enjoy the leadership journey.
Well, your own personal journey from Karnataka through the UK, China, to your current position in New York, it's an inspiration. We're very, very lucky to have had you join us for the Centre Court MBA Festival, talk a little bit about the transformational impact of the Judge MBA, and of course, with your focus on energy, the environment, we look to you to find solutions to these big world challenges. So Mahesh, thank you for taking the time. It was an absolute pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for the opportunity.